Hello, I'm Dr. Ant. Do you know, I've got three things I'd like to talk to you about today. When we're in business, it's kind of really difficult sometimes, isn't it, to manage teams and manage people to get the best out of them. And the three things that I really want to talk to today is, first of all, engagement. It's about how we keep our teams engaged. And the second one I want to talk about, you're going to love this, entitlement. I mean, that's going to be a hostile subject to talk about, but I'm going to cover that in a moment as well. And the third one I'm going to talk about today is lack of ownership and accountability within the team. So here we go. Let's see how this goes. We're going to have some fun on this one. Probably a little bit controversial, but hey, let's see what happens. So first of all, let's talk about engagement. What do I mean by engagement? Well, do you feel sometimes that, when you're running a small business, that the guys turn up for work and the team turn up, but they're not really engaged. They're kind of going through the motions. I mean, I think the current trend is called quiet quitting, isn't it? It's where they're doing enough to be there, but they don't really engage. And I have to ask the question, why is that? Why do people go through that motion of doing what they have to do, not because they want to do? And I bet it's all down to exactly that. They're doing stuff because they have to do it, not because they want to do it. And what I'm talking about here is just doing stuff just to get paid. And that must be a terrible existence, mustn't it? Can you just imagine if you're that employee, if you're that team person, and you go into a place of work you don't really want to be, and you're doing it, but you don't really like the people you're working with, or the management, or the politics, or anything, and you're literally doing it just to get paid. How demotivating must that be to have to get out of bed every day and think, oh, I don't really want to go to work? Awful. I think we're in control of helping those employees get that better engagement and being honest with them, because you and I know, don't we? We know those employees which don't quite engage, and I think we just got to be brave and have that conversation with them and ask them, why are you coming to work? What is it that floats your boat? And have those vulnerable questions to work out what really motivates them and find out who they really are. And it's your responsibility as their employer to look after them, isn't it? Morally, mentally, and to make sure they're doing the best they can. But that then leads me on to this lovely little solution, which is all about being the best version of themselves. Because when I work with my clients and when I work with companies and I run workshops and speaking and one-to-ones, etc., my mission with people to get them engaged is to find out what really makes them tick, what makes them float, and work with these people to identify what makes them want to do what they're wanting to do and be the best version of themselves. And a lot of the time, it comes down to fear, because they don't want to step outside the zone in case they're not good enough. Does that make sense? And I think we can very easily fall into the blame game, saying, look, you don't engage, it's your fault. I'll go back a little bit and say, well, what can you do? What can you do as the employer to create that engagement? Because once you get that engagement, people are there because they want to be there, not just because they have to be there. And that then takes me on to my next point, which is about accountability and ownership. Have you done it when you've got a team full of people and they just don't want to take ownership? They just like, snakes in oil. They won't take responsibility and accountability of themselves being responsible for their own actions, let alone anybody else's. But this is again down to fear. This is about they might get told off. They might get lose their job. They might be vulnerable. What will they think of me? All those kinds of things come into play there. But again, as the team leader, business manager, business owner, whatever it may be, if you've got people working with you, that's your responsibility to create an environment of trust. It's to create that environment when things go wrong, that a person in the team can come up to you and say, I'm sorry, I messed up. This is the mistake. This is what the outcome was. However, I fixed it, and this is what the outcome now is. Wouldn't that be lovely for that to happen? Instead of us having to firefight and dig deep who done this and what went wrong. And no, let's just create our people so they've got that trusting working environment where they can come back to you and say, I messed up. And this is what went wrong on, because do you know what? I'd happily have my team come to me and say, I mucked up. This is what we can do. And this is how I'm going to fix it. Love it. And I'll reward that. I want people to make mistakes and be accountable for them. And then there's this last one, which is about entitlement. What is entitlement? Oh, hot subject. I can hear it already. What is it with today's people that they feel entitled? No one's entitled to anything, are they? Unless they earn it. It's all about doing your best and being your best and being rewarded for being your best, either by yourself or somebody else. That's it, isn't it? We look at the National Health Service here in the UK, for instance, and we are entitled to get medical help. But I've seen people that are entitled to get medical help that also are really overweight, drink far too much, and continue smoking. Well, they're not really looking after themselves, are they? And I have to beg the question, if you don't look after yourself, why should somebody else look after you? Surely entitlement comes from within. I'm entitled to look after myself, for my own self-preservation, for me and my family and my loved ones. Not I'm entitled for you to look after me. That's really different, isn't it? And I think that's the challenge nowadays, is that with the comparisons of social media and the big glory life and the grass is always greener and it always looks better somewhere else, is for people to say, oh, well, they're doing it, so I'm entitled. No. I'm sorry, no. That's just not the case. It's all about looking after yourself by being the best version of yourself that you want to be for yourself. Drop entitlement, earn it. That's the way to happiness within. I hope you enjoy this.